speech that we're expecting from Donald Trump when he returns to Florida.
OK, Michelle, thank you. Of course, we'll be following all those developments as they unfold. Let's get more on this now from Rachel Tausendfreund, who is a senior fellow at the German Marshall Fund, an American think tank based in Berlin. Good to see you, Rachel. Thanks for being with us. Now, this is, as we were hearing, the first former US president to face criminal charges. How's it playing out on the world stage, this story?
Well, anytime you have a former president charged with a crime, he'll be taken to jail and fingerprinted. This is obviously a major story. And yet it's not quite as unprecedented as we might think. French President Sarkozy was recently convicted. We know Prime Minister Netanyahu is undergoing criminal trials. So on the one hand, of course, there's lots of attention, lots of worry, lots of sort of head shaking. But on the other hand, it's actually not that destabilizing. We're also seeing that in terms of the reaction. President Trump kind of called for a revolution and broad protests. We're only seeing some protests in New York. So I'm confident that it's going to be not as crazy as we might have feared, at least initially.
So you don't think it will be inflammatory? There's warnings there in New York for people not to treat the city as a playground to behave themselves, but concerns that pro and anti-Trump supporters could take to the streets, not just in New York, but around the country. He is a very polarizing figure, as we've seen.
He's very polarizing. And I mean, initially, he's received a small bump in support from this, something like 4%. Increase in support, and his main opponent for the presidential nomination on the Republican side has sort of sank. So he's also gotten, last I checked, over $7 million in additional donations after he announced that he was going to be charged. So he is getting a lot of support from his core fans within the Republican Party. And, they're also inoculated against bad stories, bad facts, negative information against him, because they've been told the entire time the media and the elites are against him. Therefore, this is not going to change their opinion. And some of them will be on the streets and many of them will be dissatisfied. But we're not seeing a kind of national protest movement yet, and I hope we don't.
Yeah, this story's got a long way to run, of course. Within the Republican Party itself, nobody's really breaking ranks at the moment, are they, including other potential Republican presidential nominees? How do you see this playing out with them?
Well, I think they're going to wait and see, how the facts develop and what they see in terms of support. It's really early, right? The primaries for the Republican nomination don't start until February. So I think we won't know until maybe December, January, how this is going to turn out and if people are going to start speaking up against President Trump. I think there are a lot of people, I know there are some people who are quietly hoping that this is going to finally burst the Trump bubble. Who will dare to first make an attempt vis-a-vis the voters? That remains to be seen.
Rachel Tausendfreund, thank you very much for joining us from